The second safari of the 1985 season was the Bovington 150. 73 vehicles turned up to race on the new site at Wool Heath after local conservationists had objected to the AWDC's use of Chamberlaynes Heath in 1984. After heavy rain in the preceding week, the ground was very wet and just reaching the start needed some effort. The waterholes around the course were full and soft sand was everywhere. At midnight, the buzz of activity around the start was accentuated as drivers leapt optimistically on their first attempt at the 6-mile course. Alistair Bedell was driving a Class A Range Rover base special. John Denton Rees and John Norris shared the driving in number 27. Bert Wheeler was out again in his faithful FJ40 Toyota Land Cruiser. Pete Wilkins and Colin Dickler were entered in this Strakit buggy. Mike Deacon entered in this Series 2A Land Rover. Andy Sargent was racing in his truck-bodied Range Rover, the body being modified during previous events. Chaz Shooter was driving the Ultimate Shed. Clerk of the course Keith Gott breathed a sigh of relief as the first vehicles completed Run 1. However, the attrition rate was high and 10 vehicles were lost on this first run. Mike Scott and Steve Ballard in their Series 1 Land Rover. Andy Sargent completes his first run. Paul Davies and Brian Hall also return. Also back safely, Alistair Bedell. Mike Deacon completes Run 1. Just returning, Peter Williams in the Daihatsu. John Danton Rees and John Norris complete the course. In the early hours we were treated to another deluge of rain, making the course even worse, and by daybreak only 34 of the 73 vehicles were still racing. By now Club President Richard Beddle had moved up into 7th place and Stuart McCutcheon was involved in non-stop recovery operations with his FJ Toyota.
It wasn't only the competitors that had problems though, and steps had to be taken to stop the scoreboard canopy from being blown away. Mike Wolfe had experienced alternator failure just before dawn, but this had now been fixed and he had moved up into 8th place. Ron Hotson was 1 place better at 7th, and virtually all of the vehicles still left running were Range Rover based. Radio Marshal Paul Rutson moves in to rescue a couple of faltering Land Rovers as Pete Rowe closes in on the scene. His performance here an indication of his current placing. First. The turbocharged V8 was really performing and powering the vehicle through the claggy soft sand. The Snell brothers were placed 22nd at this time. Sergeant was romping through the ruts to hold 5th place. Pete and Andy Talbot were waging a gallant war at 18th overall in one of the few Land Rovers still in with a chance of finishing. Verso Camisa was holding 16th place in the Strange Rover 2. Nick Johns was driving a steady race in 8th place.
Pete Rowe still making light work of the heavy going. John Wright in 3rd place was desperately trying to pull back time from Pete Rowe's 12.5 minute lead. sergeant was still in the race after the long night. Kevin Curran was one of the highest placed non-finishers with 14 runs to his credit. Pete and Andy Talbot were still up to the challenge, leading Class C. Mike Wolf was doing very well as Class B leader. Richard Beddle was lying fourth and looking at Class A honours. Ron Hotson had lost some time overnight and was holding 8th place.
Hacker and Orchard are plodding along steadily here in one of the only 2 Land Rovers that completed the event. Second place men Mark Taylor and Alvin Smith had their eyes firmly set on Pete Rowe's 1 minute 37 second lead. And so as the day wore on, more and more vehicles dropped out of the running. Paul Davis and Brian Hall completed 14 runs.
And so, as a very arduous Bovington 150 draws to a close with only 12 entrants being classed as finishers out of 74 starters, congratulations must go to the drivers and their crews who endured appalling conditions to achieve that result. Alvin Smith is to be congratulated in that all three of his Strange Rover 2s completed all 19 runs, and all credit to the Safari control crew who ensured that the results were kept right up to date throughout the 15 hours of racing. Out of 74 starters, only 12 people finished the race. The 6-mile course was attempted 19 times. Thanks go to Keith Gott as clerk of the course and his assistant Richard Gross. And so a look at the results of the 1985 Bovington 150. In first place overall, Pete Rowe, followed in second place by Mark Taylor and Alvin Smith. In third place was John Wright. For Class A, first Richard Bedell, second Andy Sargent and third Alberto Camisa. 2 finishers only in Class B, first Michael Wolfe, second Hacker and Orchard. And in Class C, just the Talbot brothers in first place. No finishers in Class D or E. The other finishers in the event were 8th Ron Hotson, 10th Nick Johns and 11th the Snell brothers. And so the championship placings after round 2. First equal, Pete Rowe and John Wright with 139 points. In third place, Michael Wolfe, 4th Pete and Andy Talbot, 5th Andy Sargent, 6th Ron Hotson, 7th Richard Gross, 8th the Snell brothers, 9th Mark Taylor and 10th Richard Bedell.